What's up, everyone? My name is Aly, and you're listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. For this week's episode, I talked with members of the Minneapolis chamber pop band Sister Species. The group recently released Lena in the Bog, a propulsive and dog-inspired take on their ambient and beautifully arranged sound. We talked about nature, playing in a septet, the passing of the seasons, best friends, and more. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Emily and Maddie of Sister Species on the Ear Coffee Podcast. How are you guys doing this Monday night? Thanks for making time.
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Cool. Before we get too much further into it, this is actually the first time you've been on the podcast, Emily, but we did an email interview, I think a couple years ago or back for the last record.
Yes.
So it's nice to talk.
Yeah,
verbally, in the flesh.
And in the audio.
And in,
the non-flesh.
On record in a different way. But for everyone listening, if you each want to introduce yourselves, just your name, what your role in the band is, and maybe any other pertinent information you feel the need to share before we get into it. And then we can, get into it.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm Emily. I use she and they pronouns. Sister Species is my special band that I started in 2011, kind of a long time ago. So that's me.
My name's Maddie. I use any pronouns, and I've been playing bass with the band since October of 2022.
Okay.
And I play accordion and I sing and write songs and words. Those are the main things that I do.
Yeah. And we are missing, I think, 5.
Yep.
You're not missing, but there are 5 other members of the band. Many of them have been in the project for a long time.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot of microphones to have here today.
Yeah, just a lot of, I feel like at every rehearsal, there's glorious side chatter happening. Maybe even on stage too, there's the main event that's happening. And then there's the trumpet section show, which is a separate show. We've been talking about giving them the mics that they give to people who do sports. I don't know what those are called.
The little
sport
clip-ons,
mics.
the little lav mics or something.
Yeah. And then you hear what they're actually talking about the whole time. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Well, that'll just be good for some ambient interludes or something. We'll just overlay trumpet
chatter.
dialogue, trumpet chatter.
Yes.
And then going into the next song or whatever. Cool. So grateful to have both of you here. Last record I talked to you about was Light Exchanges, came out in May of 2020. And as you said, I started to forget that the band has been around for so long, or at least the project, your songwriting has been around for so long. And we're talking about some almost later records. Not that there's an end in any in sight, but we're in this current modern era of Sister Species as opposed to the vintage era of Sister Species. The 2012, 2011, around that time, vintage era. But thinking of Light Exchanges, and I guess even thinking back to that, how you've changed and grown as a songwriter and how you've envisioned the project and kind of how you've approached it. Around the time you put out Light Exchanges and that record was finished up, what changes had you started to kind of detect in your creativity and how you're approaching songwriting? How are you feeling creatively around the time that record was finished? It gets finished, then there's usually some time before it actually comes out. But you'd already started working on the new one that we'll talk about. But kind of as you transitioned from that record to whatever the next project would be, whatever the next kind of feelings, whatever you were going to be writing about.
Yeah.
And how is that different from how's that continued to grow over the last 13 years that you've been doing this? We don't have to go year by year, blow by blow, but
we might have to scaffold this question, but I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Light Exchanges, we got the masters for Light Exchanges back on, I think March 9th of 2020. So that's just I feel like that date evokes a feeling for all of us now. And then, we live in Minneapolis and the record came out in May of 22 and the I live on the South Side, and I think that like, you know, George Floyd was murdered a couple of days after the album came out, which just like really, I don't know, I think like changed where my energy was focused, where it kind of went from being like, all right, I'm like emailing radio stations, like emailing cool local blogs and podcasters, like doing a bunch of promo, and then being like, oh, like the city's on fire, like there, like something really important and meaningful is happening here. Like I, you know, like need to be
this is not where the
that.
energy needs to be going right now.
Yeah, totally.
Felt
So
that too.
yeah, a little bit hard to summarize, just but I think that everyone maybe gets that maybe is a good gesture to kind of what happened then. I think as I'd been working on Light Exchanges, I like started to write a handful of songs, and none of them really came to being on this new record. Lena and the Bog is a new album, and I think I started writing the songs for it kind of around the time that Light Exchanges was finished. So there was this feeling of like, oh, this album's mastered. Like I can start to like make space for a few new songs. So like the last track on Lena and the Bog, Someday You'll Find It, I wrote like in kind of like the first week of pandemic after my first Zoom meeting. So there's some context for that. But okay, so that's what happened when Light Exchanges came out, and then the question was, how has like my songwriting evolved over time?
Yeah,
or like kind of
just
how did
with
new
like all like the
things...
different kind of benchmarks of new releases, of new feelings and new projects.
Yeah,
and I know you also, both of you are kind of serial collaborators, always playing
Yes.
a lot of different groups with a lot of different folks on top of the septet
Yes.
that Sister Species is, which is already.
Many
people.
brains. Yeah.
It's hard to plan a tour with 7 people and all of the logistics, but it's also you can make some beautiful noises.
Yeah, right. I think I've come to realize that like some people play with septets when they do like a really cool, special, sexy one-time project, and I'm like, every show 7 people. Like that's the vision. So I think that there's like pieces of the vision that remain. Like that are like threads that remain through any of the records, where it's like songs that are, there's a lot of like observation of both like my internal emotional terrain, but also the natural world, and the domestic world, or just like, you know, stuff I'm like looking at and touching and seeing, I feel like is a theme throughout any of the albums. And I think I'm always trying to write things that are like personal and true, but not confessional, you know? It's not like, it doesn't really feel like a diary entry, or it feels like things that I want to share with others. And often it's like a feeling or an experience that's abstracted through metaphor, which I think lets other people have some space to like project their own story or connect. And with this new album, I think I've been thinking about like what makes it maybe different or similar from other records. I felt really like relaxed making it. I think partially like the nature of the continued pandemic and just like so many things being canceled and so much uncertainty, that there was just a sense of like, I don't know, like I'll write this, like the songs will be written when they're written, and they'll be arranged when they're arranged, and we'll record it when we'll record it, and just kind of like relaxing and trusting in the process. I think also just having like put out past work like Light Exchanges or Heavy Things Do Move or Closer Now, even like records that I feel proud of, like made it feel like there was less of a pressure to like get out a recording that sounded good or that sounded like the band. I just was like, oh yeah, I will. Like I was confident that it would happen. I think also with Light Exchanges in particular, I think I wanted to write like songs that sounded like cool and hard, that were like kind of hard to sing, or like they're like in a much higher part of my range, which I was noticing making this album. It's like it sits a little lower and a little more like relaxed feeling. And I also wrote, I guess a new thing about some of the writing for Lena and the Bog is that I wrote a lot of the songs on guitar, which I don't actually play guitar, or it's like not like an instrument that I have like formal training in at all. But I have this like little, it's like a kid size guitar that I got at a friend's yard sale that I just have like been enjoying playing. And I think it meant that as I was writing some of the songs, I wasn't like thinking critically about chord progression. I just was thinking about what sounded good, because I felt like lost on the guitar. And so what kind of came out of that was some like, there's a lot of like 1-5-4 songs or like simpler progressions, but I wasn't like my judgment voice was off because I just was like, guitar, fun, pretty. And afterward I was like, oh, interesting. I wrote a 1-5-4 song.
Yeah.
But it felt nice to do that without judgment. I don't know if you want to add anything, Maddie. I just gave a little lecture, but do you want to add anything?
Sure. I guess coming in and like having influence from previous bassist Rye and just kind of like one, recognizing just melodic themes. The previous two records both have a droning song, and this one is Lean in the Bog, where it's just the same note, but it's not necessarily a drone at all. So just like noticing that.
No, it's like catchy. Usually a drone isn't catchy as much as I love them.
Yeah, and just like noticing like how that energy has changed. But like you were saying, like there's a lot more, I think, just like, I guess like not necessarily relaxing, but there's a lot more just like allowing the song to flow. And like just to move really gently or just like let it be. And yeah, supporting that in the low end side of things, and to do that justice. And there was a lot of times where I just was like, I wanted like less is more in certain moments, and just allowing just the many voices and the many hands to have space. And I don't know, I've only got the writing bass for the one record as experience, but yeah, just was following your lead. Yeah, lots of checking in and being like, does everyone feel good with this?
Yeah, no, that hearing that writing process and how that was kind of different and very, I don't know, like almost like feeling forward. It wasn't super intellectual. Not to say that it wasn't like thought out or that you weren't putting like, it wasn't planned, but just kind of, it was based on the joy of playing this instrument, and kind of the simplicity and forwardness of some of the progressions, I think, lends itself to how the record feels. Because that was one of like the first notes I took, even from the first track. It feels very forthcoming musically. And not to say that it hasn't been something present in the past, but just really struck me from the get-go. So, I mean, that sounds like maybe something that kind of contributed to that, even as just hearing it as a listener.
Yeah.
Cool. So, going further into the record, before we get too much into the music, can you tell us a little bit about Lena?
Yeah, Lena was my best friend Sam's dog, and I love Lena. Lena came into our lives when we were like in our early 20s. So there's a sense, I'm in my mid 30s now, and I just feel like there's a sense that like Lena raised me. Or I feel like a lot of my friends who were like getting dogs as we were like finishing school or like whatever we were doing in our early 20s, like the dogs are sort of these like wise creatures who helped us to be better creatures. And it's kind of interesting now. I feel like several friends have said goodbye to their sweet old dogs in the last year or so. So it's just like a moment that I'm taking note of. But yeah, Lena was a sweet like black lab border collie mix, we think. Sam got her when she was like around a year old, and she had puppies before, so she had some like mom energy. And I feel like had like, yeah, I don't know, contributed some mom energy in our lives, and also had like mom energy toward my friend Sam's kid Aster, who also is like kind of like low key shouted out in the Lena in the Bog song. But yeah, I love Lena for a lot of reasons. I feel like she was mischievous or like always trying to run away. She'd like go to like Chai Lake Liquors and like find like chicken, and I don't know. Yeah, she just would always be coming home having had like really sometimes like horribly smelling adventures. And yeah, and so then the context for the song is that we had found out. Also, I do acknowledge like Lena was not my dog. She's like my friend's dog, but I think there's something really like sacred about your best friend's best friend, or being like, yeah, like she's not my dog, but she is my family.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know, just a note. I feel like people have been like, oh, your record about your dog. And I'm like, I don't have a dog, but I do love Lena. She's my friend.
Yeah. Ownership does not erase the possibility of, or the amount and the depth of the love you have.
Thank you. Yeah. but yeah, so we had just like found out that Lena had terminal cancer, but she didn't know it. Or maybe she knew it, but if she knew it, it wasn't like a super like relevant factor, if that makes sense. And we just spent this day in one of my favorite bogs. And
Which bog?
Oh, it's a secret.
Okay. Fair enough.
But I mean, it's not that secret, but it's a place where some friends have done some maples, not in the bog, but in this like forest zone. Some friends have been like harvesting maple syrup for the past many years in a like winter camping situation. Fun, chaotic, beautiful, and just like a belief in sweetness. I don't know if you've ever harvested maple syrup, but it involves it involves like tapping trees and then boiling them down, and we do it using only hand tools. It's like a beautiful, very like sweet and laborious process, and you're like camping in wall tents and just like melting down into the spring. So you show up there and it's like feet of snow, and when you finish it's spring somehow. So this was the last day, and we were like hiding some buckets in the bog. And yeah, Lena was just running around super happy, fast and free with our other dog friend, Sable. And like, I was having a great day, and I also was kind of tired, and I was like, wow, like how can Lena is dying. Lena has more energy than I've maybe ever had in my entire life. And just being like, how can I be more like Lena? So it's a long-winded description of who Lena is and kind of the moment of origin for that song.
Yeah. No, I think the lack of awareness that, and like the kind of blissful ignorance that a lot of non-human animals, whether dogs or other lovely creatures, have, like they don't, if they've just been like diagnosed with something or something's changed, they don't maybe act like it or realize it at first, and it doesn't like inhibit their behavior. And so like that energy and that kind of brightness and joy that dogs feel when they're just running around, I can imagine that feels so good.
Yeah,
you're having so much fun.
Like it feels awesome.
Yeah.
You can smell so much stuff. You're like so low to the ground. It's like extra green.
And your mouth is open. You're just taking all these sensations. That kind of summarizes the kind of feeling of there's a lot of brightness in the record, not just musically, not just like literally writing about light and bright things, since the natural world has been such a inspiration to your songwriting. But it also, there's a lot of like kind of darkness, and I think murkiness is the word you used to describe it, kind of on the underside, and not like you're sitting and deliberately ignoring it or paying it no heed, but being able to participate in kind of this energetic joyfulness like Lena was, despite this kind of undercurrent of bad things, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, totally.
Is that something you were kind of that you were aware of as you were putting the record together? Is it something that became more apparent as you thought about Lena, as you thought about the other things, that the threads that kind of intersected to make this record, and like the feelings that were really pertinent to your songwriting?
Yeah. I don't know that it was like it wasn't like an explicit plan or something, but it definitely
rarely is. Yeah.
I know some people write concept albums, and power to them. But I think it is like a like kind of my vibe. You know, I feel like I'm like pretty optimistic generally, but also I like real or direct, if that makes sense. So I feel like that's kind of where that where that songwriting energy comes from being someone who just is like, oh, this is how the world is. I don't want to shy away from the world. Like also to feel joy, you have to feel sorrow, or they're all like two sides of the same thing, or feeling more is feeling more, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I think that answers the question. Yeah.
The full spectrum is embraced.
Yeah. And the thread, I think, did become evident after. I've kind of also trying to be like, we talked about calling this album 10 songs we like. Or like, we just were like, I don't know.
It's like a Leonard Cohen title. It's like some new songs.
Right. Okay. Or like 9 songs we like and one we're not sure of, or whatever. So yeah, but I think after it took also a long time to like figure out what to call the album. We thought of some other names, we didn't use them. So I feel like once it became Lena and the Bog, I was like, okay, this is clearly the name for a reason, mostly because like I feel happy when I say it and it's fun and I like the song.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, kind of like backpedaling, being like, okay, if we're calling the album that, what is it saying as a whole, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Beyond just being like a title, beyond being the first track.
yes.
You know,
Yeah.
there are plenty of times when an album's title isn't even also the name of a track. Sometimes it is, a lot of times it isn't. So there's no like
Right.
necessity there, but you kind of want to think about how do these things relate if regardless of that, how does this title capture what I'm saying on the record, what the music is saying.
Yeah. And I feel like also like the record, like this record did feel personal, or it felt like it was like for my friends and loved ones. And I mean, I think I often have written music for friends and loved ones, but I don't know, just something about this time that, you know, like giving it like giving like Lena a shout out by name, or there's like a couple, I suppose maybe just Lena and Esther are named. I don't know if there's other names, but I don't often name people in songs. So it felt nice to be like, I'm talking about Lena. I'll give her a proper name.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You touched on this a little bit before, and it seems to have been something that has continually fueled your writing, especially your lyrics. But using the natural world, naturalism, both from your own experience and just being able to like look outside and see all these beautiful things, and kind of ambiguity and metaphor, all these things kind of tied together to capture these feelings that were very direct and that have been very like were maybe directly inspired by something in your life, or are directly like kind of aimed at a specific friend inspired by, but still capturing kind of the ephemerality of all of these feelings. Talk a little bit about how that's kind of been a theme or like a constant presence in your songwriting, and you know, what's continued to draw you to that besides just, you know, I feel like I don't trust anyone that doesn't like nature and
yeah,
so what do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah. I think that, yeah. I mean, you know, the band name Sister Species, I like stole from a like the vocab list from a college course that I took about plant evolution. It's like the two species that are most closely related while still being considered distinct species. Mm-hmm. So I think that I like, you know, I have like a degree in biology that I mostly just use to be like, oh, cool, Brassicaceae, love that plant family.
Yeah.
Like I use it to like be annoying to my friends on walks or whatever.
That's how I use my theology degree too.
Exactly. Yes, here it comes. So I think in that sense that the project is, you know, I've always been like interested in the world that we exist in and in living things in the world, and also in like not seeing myself as separate from the world. I think with this album in particular, I also was like trying to incorporate other, I don't know, like elements of physical reality, like screens and asphalt. Or I feel like there's I think that this exists in past records too, but I definitely with this one was like feeling the tension of having images of like plants or other creatures, and then also having images of like technology or like harsh things, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Was the question why? I think I'm meandering a little, but why am I doing it? Don't know how to not do it. I don't know.
Not so much why, since that sometimes feels like a reductive question. Why do you write about the things you do? What do you mean? But just like, how have you felt about that? I feel like that you answered the question and touched on that. How did these songs specifically evolve and grow over the writing period, from their initial seeds and kind of feelings that you were putting to paper, were jumbling around in your head, depending on if you're someone who can like envision the music before you start to put it together, or if you're like me, it's just kind of very tedious and you have to take your time.
Yeah.
Go from those seeds to a little more fleshed out, to you're writing them on guitar, to the full arrangements that we hear. Like, what was that process like? Bringing the songs to the band, saying, hey, we're ready to make a new record. Let's work on these songs. What do you think? What do you want to add?
Yeah.
kind of like that collaborative process as well.
Yeah, how it kind of works for us is like I start with a song alone, and for me it's often like it often starts with like a melody or some words, and I'll often like there's often like a first burst of writing or something. I mean, Lead in the Bog I wrote maybe in like an hour, and that, you know, was the core of the song was done. Some other songs were like that. Some I maybe like came back to a little more, massaged more, but there's often like one kind of like focused moment where the song comes out. And then I think from there, I have like a little bit of a decisive process of like, does it sound fun or embarrassing or both to share it with the band? And if it only sounds embarrassing and not fun, then the song is just for me. And if it sounds fun at all, then it's also for the band. I don't know. And then the embarrassing part, I figure out later if that matters or not. But yeah, so often, I mean, yeah, it's funny, like thinking back to times when we started arranging these songs. I think we were rehearsing like at a distance outside, I think. And it may be like after, I think this is the first time that I had like a lot of songs that I'd written before bringing it to the band. I think because this has been a continued process, like of existing as a band over time, that we have like, you know, like semi-regular, or have had in the past at least, semi-regular rehearsals where we just were like, you know, practicing, and then I'd bring a new song and it would take a long time, then I'd bring another one. But this time I think I had a little more of a backlog, and a couple that I brought to the band that we also started to arrange together, and we're like, no. But yeah, how the process kind of works, and I imagine other bands work like this. I guess I don't totally know. I like bring the song, it has the main structure, and then sometimes I have an idea that's like, oh, I really hear, like with Lena in the Bog, I was like, I think it might be like a punk adjacent or metal adjacent song. Like I think there's some like gritty hits on this song, or I feel like I had some like words to describe the vibe of several songs, and sometimes I didn't, and we would try different beats or different different things. There's always a moment where one of the trumpet players says, well, I don't know what to play here. Or like, I can't hear anything. And that's an awesome moment where you're like, yes, because you must write it, my child, or whatever. So, but yeah, I think we all maybe have moments of being like, how are we going to find it? But yeah, I don't know. We just kind of play around. Sometimes we like make a mistake that ends up being in this, like that we end up wanting to keep, or like kind of Maddie was saying that like they're playing bass with us now, and in the past this wonderful person Rye Hayes played bass with us, and there was sort of a transitional moment where I was playing bass in rehearsal just to like keep rehearsal going, and I like ended on a wrong or a surprise note, I suppose we could call it. And because I was lost, because I, again, like don't really play bass. And the band was like, oh, that surprise note was cool. Let's end the song there. And that's how Look at the Clouds ends. It ends on like a surprise clunky note. So there's, I think a spirit of playfulness and of like, I don't know, like saying yes to ideas, and also of like trying things. I feel like if anyone's like, but listen, can we try this? We'll take time to try it. I wonder if you want to speak to,
no, if you want to speak to that, and also just your experience as, I think, at least as far as like the credits on the record, you're the first new member, the newest member of the band.
Yeah, I'm the new guy.
You're the new guy on the block. And how's that colored how you've kind of, I'm blanking on the word, but just become a part of this ensemble and growing into where you are now, over the past like year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
Hopefully with time, we all start to feel a little bit more comfortable after doing things for a couple of years versus just like showing up like, I'm replacing someone. I know how to play my instrument, but I'm new at this. What's going on?
Yeah. It was, just to start at the writing, or I guess, I don't know, the beginning, I don't know, was originally just kind of, I think like a sub, and was just holding a lot of space for Rye. And I always am holding space, like that's just, I have so much respect for all my low end friends, and it's so cool that there's so many bands to be able to kind of move through and just, I don't know, hold it down. So there was a lot of the songs. The first show that I was asked to play was a 7th Street entry show, and a lot of the songs I think were from Light Exchanges, primarily. And there was a couple that I had been given charts for that were on this record, but it was just like this is the chord structure. And there was very, very little direction, and just kind of like, if you find space for this or whatever. And yeah, it just was like treading very lightly. But as, my time developed and this record started to be talked about and then was asked to track for it, it was really interesting to kind of write bass last, I think, on a lot of these songs. Like, they had kind of been stewing with, members, and like you had said, like, you're bringing songs in or bringing songs back in, or I don't always wasn't there. But when I was there, it was like, oh, there's some fleshed out parts here, and in a lot of ways was really just trying to complement what's already existing. And, like you were saying, there were some that you had been playing bass on. So like the opening kind of bass line for like Maple Leaves, for example, was one that you were playing and we're like, that's the song. Like, that's just what it's going to sound like. And so there was honoring that. And then, kind of when you have those chorus moments of being like, okay, well, here's my moment for my voice. And it's really fun, I think, to have those two voicings on the song. But yeah, it's always like really interesting to add bass last. And
yeah,
I've had Jake say it a couple times, just say like, oh, you're such a melodic writer. And I was like, well, maybe because bass wasn't written initially, it's like, well, rhythmically it's already held down. Like, either Willow's got a rhythm part for it, or I mean, Lars is just such a great drummer. What you're doing on accordion as well is very like root note chords sometimes as well. So I'm like, I don't want to be redundant in this moment. And obviously there's times where I'm like, the best thing to do is just kind of be supportive. But yeah, there was, I think, some creative liberties where like there's one of the songs, if I had to guess, like there's a part where I'm just playing chords and then like there's a little tapping part, and just being able to kind of like, I don't know, weave with Willow in that part. And yeah, to write melodically is such a blessing for a bassist. So it was kind of cool in that way. But yeah, it just was really, really fun. Yeah.
I have one more comment also, which is just that I think when for me, having a band with 7 people is like about leaving space for everyone, or that's the whole point, is that there's space for other people to play around. And I think I trust everyone in this band. And so I trust that what they're going to do is going to sound good. So there's I like leaving a lot of space. Obviously I have opinions, but so does everyone else. So It's exciting.
Yeah, like maintaining kind of what your vision for the song is, but being open to altering that, giving everybody a chance to share their thoughts, to share their musical ideas. Since with 7 people, one of like it's some people might think it's like that larger ensembles end up with a like too many cooks in the kitchen kind of situation, and very much I'm sure they can. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, that's just so many unique perspectives and so much unique input to kind of come together, mull over, mix together, and see what comes out of it.
And everyone's really good at being quiet somehow in our band. Like, we don't have anyone who's like, I mean, I would say it's a band of shredders, but not like everyone. I feel like everyone holds back in this project. Everyone could shred at any moment, but that's like not what I think there's like some bright shred moments throughout, but that's not like the main, that's like not what people are.
It's not a shreddy band.
Doing. Yeah, it's not, but it is. Yeah. But I think that you can feel that. You can be like, wow, these are like powerful people, or like, like, I don't know, highly competent and like, I don't know, like well-developed musicians, or, you know what I mean? Like, everyone has like their sound everyone has like a particular sound and is also holding back. And I think a really nice way.
Playing with restraint is almost more difficult sometimes than playing all these busy, crazy notes and just going all over the place.
Yeah.
It takes effort to restrain that impulse. I think maybe just because I come from a jazz background, but it's like, oh, no, you're just kind of snoodling over everybody, and you're really good at playing fast, but also that's just too much. And
like, to what end? There's like 2 songs on this record where I don't play accordion, because I just was like, I don't know, this song doesn't need it. I don't want to. Like, it was nice to be like, who cares? I don't need to play accordion. I wrote the song, I sang on it. no one cares if I don't play accordion in the song. It sounds better if I don't, you know? So it's nice.
Yeah, exactly. Before we get any further, why don't we just list who else plays on the record, who else is in the band, so we are aware of who we're missing.
I love my band. I'd love to talk about them.
Yeah, because a lot of them have been in the band they were in the band, at least when I talked to you last, for Light Exchanges, if not have been around and been collaborators before then.
Yeah. I think, Noah's been in the band the longest. We met in book club in 2013. Is that right? Fall of 2013? I think.
You mentioned book club in the last interview.
Oh, nice. Still true. Okay, cool. Sorry, I should have reread that before coming. But yeah.
No. You didn't have to do homework. That's my job.
But yeah, so Noah's been in the band the longest, followed shortly thereafter by Jake, and then Sten. I think both Jake and Sten were in the band by Jake 2014. And Sten, I think fall of 2014, and then spring of 2015 is when Lars came on. So that's kind of when that's sort of like the old crew or the bros or whatever.
The trumpet section and the drummer.
Yeah. And then Willow started playing with us in 2019 around the time when my sibling was leaving the band. My awesome sibling, Abby Castrol, who now is a full-time baker with Bakery Box. It's their bakery.
Oh, wow.
Their baked goods are amazing. You can do masked, no-contact porch pickup at their home for Sunday Bun Day. Check them out. But yeah, so they were transitioning out of the band in 2019 to work on baking full-time, and Willow came in. So that's I think they overlapped. I don't totally remember. For a while, like Adam Zahler was playing guitar too around that time. So there's a little bit of like guitar shuffle. But yeah, Willow's been now is like an old time. It feels like she's been in the band forever now.
Yeah.
But it's like quote unquote new, kind of, but it doesn't feel new.
Speaking, but also as you mentioned, the band's been around for quite some time. So even 4 years is kind of fresh when it's a whole 13-year
it's a
lifespan.
A long project. And I feel grateful that that everyone's here. It's so special that that people still want to keep doing it, or that that we're not bored, or I feel like not quitting is a cool move, and I feel happy about it.
Good. No, it's good to feel happy about that as opposed to sad about that.
True.
This is kind of a nebulous question, especially since you are the writer, you wrote lyrics, did a lot of the kind of primary composition. Well, what's something that has been very meaningful to you about this record and this process of making this record? And I'm sure there's more than one thing. I hope there's more than one thing, just from the joy of creativity and getting to work with people you enjoy working with. But what have been some of those things that have really fulfilled you? Maybe not even in like I'm really proud of this particular song, which is like the experience of getting to do this was very wonderful and very important. Just even in life, in your view.
Yeah. I'm thinking about Jason McLone, who recorded the album. This is the third record that we've made with Jason. And I just kind of a lot of stuff happened while we were making the record, or I ran this out of school time program for 10 years, and I was sitting in the mixing room with Jason when I got the email that we didn't get our grant funding renewed. Just being whoa, what's gonna happen. Spoiler alert, I was able to find a job, and it's totally fine. But there was a huge moment of uncertainty that Jason was really gracious about. And I also was mixing with Jason a couple days after I miscarried last fall, and I started having cramps again, and Jason had ibuprofen for me. Just I don't know, it's simple but profound of being oh cool, you carry ibuprofen with you because you are prepared. I just feeling so, I don't know, those are just two fleeting moments, but I feel Jason's really good at I don't know, at keeping the vibe going, or I don't know how to put it, just holding space and holding all the uncertainty that goes with making an album, and that goes with listening to your voice on repeat. It's really easy to get into a critical chaos mind state, and I don't know. She's like, Jason is like, comes with a great amount of like, yes, and amount of encouragement and like a like soft neutralness that's really helpful, or it's like really responsive to the artist's vision. Yeah, I see Maddie nodding, so I want to hand you the mic.
I guess trivia fact for the album is we tracked the rhythm section for the whole album in a single day, and this is when also for like, was it an hour, 2 hour period, the building lost power.
Oh boy.
So there was like this moment of like, are we gonna finish tracking? But we had like 2 days booked, but we just like kept going. And so like all the bass, guitar, drum, accordion are all live tracked for the whole album, and we just did take after take. But yeah, we did like, it was 8 songs in a single day. 9 songs. Yeah. Oh my god, 9 songs in a single day, which was just like, I think that says a lot about Jason too, about being like, do we want to keep going? Like, this is sounding great. And just like the energy was there and it was comfy. And even with the power outage, we're like, I guess we'll go get lunch and like take care of ourselves. And then came back and we're like, power's back. Let's keep going, which was insane.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I forgot. I didn't forget, but that there was a moment where we're like, are we done for the day? I think we came back from lunch and the power wasn't back yet. Okay. Right. And then but then like a couple minutes after we got back, I don't know.
Perfect.
Yeah, we
almost
had faith. It's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jason McLone, what a gem. Yeah. Would work. I hope to work with him again whenever we make another record. Yeah.
Also keeping Lena and the Bog in mind, but thinking even beyond that, to even just your own art, your own songwriting, your own approach to your instrument or your instruments. Since again, as we've mentioned a few times, you both play in a lot of different ensembles. Everyone's very busy.
Maddie especially.
I just would
like to say Maddie is the most
number
busy.
of times, like every time you post on Instagram, it's just like 8 new gigs, and like it's like at least one new band that I didn't know you were playing with, which is not to make you bashful, but it's cool. Yeah.
I don't know if you heard Maddie say that. Say it again. Sorry.
Oh, I just really love bass.
If you hated bass, that'd be kind of odd. That'd be like
playing out of spite. That's what fuels me.
you know, whatever it takes, I guess.
No.
Anyways, what is something that you love about your own creativity, about your own art, about what you bring into the fold to Sister Species, to any kind of medium that you're exploring, whether it's music or anything else, if there is even something that kind of transcends the medium or the field that you're working in. But yeah, and another kind of ambiguous question, but it's one I like asking folks.
Yeah. I'm thinking. Yeah, great.
I'm really feeling this this playfulness, lightness vibe. That's been I think that at other times in my life, I have brought seriousness, which I think I'm good at bringing commitment or things like that. But like, for example, a project of the last couple of years is with my housemate AP, and it's called Pizza Band, and it's songs about pizza inspired by pizza. And I don't know, we've played a couple pizza related events. But yeah, it's just like it's kind of like, at the end of the day, it's about love, but pizza is love. Anyways, so I think bringing some playfulness, or I've been lucky to collaborate with a lot of people like in the puppet scene. So I think like doing music for puppet shows, or like, like recently playing on, like I've been playing on this tiny guitar and on this Casio that has built-in beats. So just on kind of like lighthearted instruments, but still writing songs that like hit or that are tender, or that, you know what I mean? That like have
contain the
like
full
substance.
Range of the feeling. Yeah, but it still have substance.
Yeah. Also, me and my partner, Matt Olson, who is Robot Slide, have a band called Diaper Rash that plays our friends' kids' birthday parties. Yeah.
Brief tangent about Robot Slide. Since their Bandcamp profile picture is all of them as kids, I was really worried. I'm like, is this going to be 10? Are we going to have a band of 10-year-olds over? Like, if so,
Are
that's
they
kind of
still
cool.
children?
But also, what the hell?
You're like, I'm gonna need a parent permission slip sign for this.
Is there legality to this? Are we crossing any lines unintentionally just by like having some children in our basement?
Wow, that's awesome.
But fortunately, they are not, and they're all wonderful musicians.
Yeah, they're adults. They're
who are
wonderful
adults.
adult musicians. It's true. Yeah. Do you want to answer this one, Maddie? Okay, here's Maddie.
Hi. I'm still kind of thinking about it. And it's like, why do you do the things you do? Right. Back to that kind of general question. I guess I just don't want to do anything else, if that's a valid answer. But
yeah. Yeah, but when you are doing those things, what is something that you think you bring to those things, to playing the bass, to playing other instruments? Not necessarily something that only you can provide, but like something that you think you maybe can provide that's different from others, that you feel very very, very proud of.
Yeah.
You know, just beyond just being a good bass player. Like, proficiency at our instruments is one thing, but I don't want to say it's boring, but it's kind of like it's very like, it's like the color white. It's like, yeah, it's white. It's there. It's the base of a lot of things, or like very contrast heavy, but something that feels a little bit more specific to you and your experience as a bassist, as a musician, within and without Sister Species.
Yeah, I guess like just like the purpose of music in my life in general, starting there, and maybe it'll narrow as I talk. There's an element of resilience. I think that music has been like the one thing that has always kind of kept me going, regardless of what's happening in my life, and to have. I don't know. I had such a hard time, I think, growing up, finding musicians that like I could also be. And so there's an element of like a lot of how I write, I think I always just want to serve the song. And regardless of like, we talked about like how everyone is so respectful and like how they contribute their parts, but it's like, does the song need more or less? And there's a lot of conversations I think about my own musical presence of like, does this do anything beyond it being like, oh, that's a cool thing I can do and can play whatever, but is that what the song wants? And, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, no, that's a good answer.
Soft answer to that question.
It doesn't have to be soft, hard, or anything else. It's whatever answer comes to your mind.
Yeah. Just music's for everyone, and I don't know. There's something about consistency. There's something about resilience. I think just the older I get, the more that I see music in general as like an act of resilience. It's kind of rebellious to just be like, I'm gonna make money playing little tunes all day.
Yeah.
Just like, you know. Yeah.
If we could be so lucky to make money making little tunes all day.
You know what I mean?
No, that's great.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Cool. Before we kind of wrap up, I always ask the same last question. So Maddie, this one might be familiar, but before we do that, is there anything else that you wanted to add about the record or about Sister Species I didn't get a chance to ask about?
Oh, such a nice question. I don't know. I'm really excited for our release show. I don't know exactly when people will listen to this, and perhaps they'll listen to it also after the release show that has happened. But I do want to plug it. Yeah. It's on October 24th at the Cedar Cultural Center, which is like the most beautiful room to play in. And I am particularly excited for it because I've been told that some people in my band who don't usually sing are going to try singing at this show. So we're going to be practicing harmonies over the next couple of months or doubles or whatever. But I'm excited. I feel like the record has a lot of like really full other vocals on it that I'm excited to get to work on with my band live. Just mostly excited for that show. Theo Languson's opening. He's awesome. He's an old friend. Used to be my boss. We're both Geminis. I don't know. It's going to be a good show. But yeah, no, mostly just gratitude and love. Nothing major to add. Do you have anything, Maddie?
Cool. So always to wrap up, what are some local bands, artists, either collaborators or just musicians you're fans of that have been exciting you, that you've been enjoying listening to lately. This is kind of like the little recommendation corner, or like the plug section.
Oh yeah, it's so many. It's so hard to know where to start, but I feel biased toward all these bands that I love that are on our little Aura Vortex label. So I'll shout out Spaceport, who I love.
Love Spaceport.
I already shouted out Robot Slide and Willow Waters, obviously, who plays in our band. I feel like within bands who like are adjacent to our band, like McNasty Brass Band is awesome. There's just like so many bands that share members with our band. Trumpet Band is a great band. And I always love Loud Sun, Andrew Jansen's project, like longtime project. And recently, like Andrew and Hannah's old project Crimes has played a couple shows again. That was exciting and good for my heart. So those are some fast ones that come to mind, but there's we're so lucky. It's so robust here. It's like there's no
expectation to be comprehensive is what I always say, because then we'd be here all night.
I know, we're so lucky. Do you want to, Maddie?
Yeah. I've just been so inspired by Full Catholic. Every time I see them, I'm just like, dang, that's yummy.
Sick Eagle. Sorry, I was also like Sick Eagle's an awesome band. That's one of Adam Zaylor's bands. I don't know. So many cool bands.
Cool.
Just thinking about them.
Yeah. Definitely check out all of those bands. Check out everything on Oral Vortex.
I have one more band shout out. I'm sorry.
Good.
Mary Scott's new album, their saxophone album, Incense Rises in the Temple, is so good. So
I've been meaning to listen to that for a while. I digress, but also very excited about that one.
I just thought about it. It felt like an important plug. Now I'll stop.
Cool.
Thank you.
Of course. No, thank you. So for anyone listening, which is hopefully you, listener, Lean in the Bog is going to be out September 20th. So either it's out now or will be coming soon. Either way, listen to it. It'll be available on all the streaming services. It's on Bandcamp if you want to toss the band some money. Help support them. Being in a band is expensive, and it's not about the money, but the money helps, and that's always the weird thing. But where else can people find Sister Species and keep track of what y'all are doing, and what are other ways to support the band, and I guess even support your label? Bandcamp's a great place to listen to all the things, and if you want a physical object, like a vinyl object or cassette object, or even a CD object, or maybe future other merch objects, Bandcamp is a great place to get those from, both for Sister Species and any of the bands on Aura Vortex. Coming to see us live is a great way to support and a way to stay in touch. I love getting an email, sisterspecies@gmail.com. We also have an email list. We're on social media. I do post important things on Instagram and then sometimes on Facebook and every now and then on Twitter. I'm not on TikTok, but if I got like a really cool Gen Alpha or Gen Z intern or something, then maybe I'd be on TikTok, but not currently happening. Yeah, if you want to be the Sister Species TikTok intern, you should hit that email that we just gave.
sisterspecies@gmail.com. Talk to me.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Emily and Maddie. Appreciate you taking time. It's great to talk to you. Check out the record. I'm very excited for it to be out. It's a wonderful experience. And I'm excited to see what the band continues to do.
Thanks for having us.
You have been listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, and share so we can stand out against the sea of other music podcasts. You can find information and other important links in the show notes of this episode. If you would like to support us, please consider subscribing on Patreon for early access to live sessions and other bonus content. You can also subscribe to our Substack for a regular newsletter with reviews, ramblings, and anything else we have to say. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.